Welcome back to Let's Create with Alex Blake. I'm your host, Alex Blake, and today we have my friend Cassidy on the pod. Say hey, Cass.
Hi, guys. How's it going?
For those of you guys who are like, wait a minute, what podcast am I listening to? That is right. This is Miss Cassidy Lynne from Oh Shoot.
I'm thinking about changing my voice slightly so people know like this is a guest interview voice and not like the host voice, you know?
Yeah, what should your voice be? What are you going to change it to?
I think a little bit more chill and like ASMR.
I feel like that's your voice anyway, Cassidy.
No, I don't think so. I think sometimes I raise my voice a little bit. And
really?
Yeah, at least I feel like lately on my podcast, I've been doing a little bit of ranting / yelling.
Okay.
I don't know. So I'm thinking just really ASMR for today.
I don't know if
everyone's
going to be like, all right, I got to turn this off.
Yeah. We already lost everyone. Yeah, they're gone.
It's fine. Anyway, guys, today I have a fun topic. And honestly, I was going to record this podcast episode anyway. And then I texted Cassidy and was like, wait, do you want to do this one with me? Because it kind of sounds fun. And it sounds like, I don't know, it sounds like something you would have on your podcast. So I was like, let me just ask. So today we're going to be talking about photography retreat red flags. Ooh,
scary.
So scary, so spooky. Yeah, obviously it's an interesting topic because I host Photo Camp, which is a photography retreat, photography educational content weekend. Cassidy, you just launched and filled all your spots for your Italy retreat. Do you want to talk about that for a second?
Sure. Yeah. So I launched an Italy retreat a week ago, and I filled all the spots. It's basically this like Italian villa type of vibe. And I just kind of honestly, after attending a lot of Alex's retreats and like Preston's and like just experiencing them, and also I would say around 3 content days when I was like building my portfolio, just like seeing so many people I know do them, experiencing them a lot. I've always wanted to do something like destination, something that I always wish that like I had in my portfolio sooner type of thing. Something that I wish I would have experienced when I was kind of like coming up in the business. So yeah, that's kind of just what I am providing in the industry. And yeah, I'm really excited for it. I like have been doing so much planning, which is why I feel like this episode is also great for me to be on because I am in the midst of like retreat planning and workshop planning as well. So it's like
same. Mine is literally in a month and a half. Can you believe that?
That's crazy.
I feel like I just had the other one. Like
I know. I feel like the year is flying by too.
I disagree. I feel like January was like the longest month of my life.
Really? Well, January's long because it's like the 31st. Like it's a long month.
The one extra day.
Yeah.
Every other month has that extra day.
Not always. Alex.
It's fine.
Stop.
Yeah.
Just let me have this one thing.
100%, Cassidy. Totally agree. No. Anyway, though, I think like, okay, first of all, I think it's really cool to have both of our perspectives on here because Photo Camp and your retreat are, and obviously yours hasn't happened yet, but like they are night and day in a lot of ways. Like they're totally different and they match our personalities so well. I think like Photo Camp is like, ooh, fun, camp vibe, summer camp, let's go. And then yours is like an Italian villa on the countryside, you know?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's cool to see how like so many people can host retreats and workshops, but everyone does it in their own way. And it's very them when they do it. And I think I want to put a lot of emphasis on like the experience of it, but also like the relaxation of it too. Like I'm making the schedule and it's like, it's not like we're doing stuff every minute of the day. Like there's breaks and time to chill or whatever. Like, I don't know. A lot of the people, like I started a group chat with everyone and like a lot of the people are wanting to attend or like extend their trip and go places before or after. So it's like very much just like a vacation where you're building your portfolio and like meeting people.
That's so exciting.
It's kind of the vibe. So I'm really excited.
I told Cassidy, but I keep looking at flights and I'm just like, if I can find one cheap enough, I might show up.
I know. It's like you could fly into another country that's cheaper and then take like a train and then a bus.
So you're selling me. Got it.
You really could do it. We can chat off air.
Yeah, we'll chat more. But anyway, so one of the reasons that we like really wanted to talk about this, like I said, obviously, is because we're both in the midst of it, right? But also because I just feel, and you could disagree with me if you think, Cassidy, but like, I feel like we're in the era of content days and retreats. Like, I think in the couples photography world, this has been a thing for a lot longer, but I'm a senior photographer mostly, right? And like, for something that's like outside of the niche of couples, I don't feel like it's been like forever that this has been happening as much as it is now. Do you agree?
Yeah, I would say, yeah, the couples thing has been going on for a really long time. Like when I was coming up as a wedding photographer, it was a thing. Finding a portrait content day or like a family content day, that really was unheard of. So yeah, I feel like it's on the up, but I also feel like it's also on the down as well. Like I feel like with content days comes this message that like I feel like half people preach where they're like, don't get your portfolio from content days. Like as content days rise, I feel like there's a lot of backlash with them where people are like, don't attend them because they're not real. Like, I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of like controversy over just like the concept of it.
Totally. I think that's part of like why I wanted to have an episode like this, because I also think there's controversy when it comes to like the experience of a retreat or the experience of a content day styled shoots. Like with the rise of how many people are hosting their own, some of them are really great and others of them lack in quality or like what the photographers have experienced at those retreats. And I feel like I've heard lots of stuff recently. So I was like, let's do an episode. Let's talk about it. So basically what Cassidy and I did, guys, is we just came up with random red flags. I haven't heard Cassidy's. She hasn't heard mine.
I feel like ours are probably the same.
I know. I feel like they're probably overlapping, but like, we'll see, you know, maybe there's a couple gems in there that, you know, you didn't say, I didn't say. So, okay, let's talk about it, I guess. I mean, let's do it. Basically, this is AKA how to avoid paying a bunch of money for just like a fancy group hangout, you know, with cameras.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to go first? Do you want me to?
I can go first. Okay. One of my red flags is and I feel like this kind of is like the theme of a lot of my red flags is this. Basically, like not super clear communication. I think that's a huge thing. And I think that's something that as an attendee or even as someone that's thinking about buying a ticket somewhere, like I think you'd be able to tell that pretty early on. And honestly, that's something with my workshop that I really prioritized with your help, Alex, because if you guys didn't know, I literally paid Alex to tell me all of her things about how she hosts her things so that I can like do mine as well as hers. But I think like the communication of it all is so important. So like something that I tried to make sure I did was set up a whole like honeybook automation. So when someone did buy their ticket, sign the contract, right away they would get 2 emails from me. They'd get your accepted email, and then they would get a separate email with all of the travel details, like everything. Like it said, like what's next? What do you need to do now? Like all of the stuff that I pretty much, if I were attending, those are the things I would want to know, right? Yeah. So I try to put myself in like my attendee shoes and be like, okay, what do I want to know beforehand? Yeah. And that's kind of like the communication I carved out. And then I created like a group chat with all of them once all the tickets were booked, with more communication being like, I got a lot of questions about this, just want to answer that. Like, and even on like the landing page too, like when you're learning about this workshop before you even buy a ticket, is there clear communication on like FAQs? Is there clear communication on like the details? I don't know. Right. So I think that would be a pretty big red flag and the reason it's a red flag is because that means the person that's hosting it might not have all that stuff figured out. Right. Like the communication might not be there because they quite literally might not know themselves either.
Right. And some of that is okay. They're probably still in like planning season, right? For it, if it's like months and months ahead. But like you should have the nailed down details of like what airport somebody flies into. You know what I mean? They need to know like the address of where we're going.
And like what are the dates and the times? Like when can I get there? Yeah. And I think with retreats and stuff, especially if it's like somewhere that's destination, like I didn't have like my models booked. I didn't have my florists, my dresses. None of that was booked before I launched. So it's okay to not like have all of those details figured out. I think a lot of the times it's good if you don't, because then if it doesn't end up working out, like you can, you can either cancel or try to figure out, rework it a little bit to make it more profitable or whatever. So it's like, you don't have to have all that figured out, but the communication of it all is important.
Yeah. Mine goes like so hand in hand with that, like the first one, because mine was like big promises without actual details. So like very similar when it's like, okay, communicating those details up front is important. But like if I'm going to like book a retreat or something like that, I'm looking at all of these promises, but like if it's like these massive ones, like it's going to be life changing and your business is going to go from here to here, but it doesn't actually give you any details of what you're doing that weekend or like,
it's like
how it's going to do that.
Yeah.
Like, Yeah. And like I have been to content weekends where I'm like, this genuinely has changed my life. But I'm saying that 3 years removed from it and like looking back at the 3 years of like everything that's happened, and I could tell you like landmarks of what's actually gone on, But if somebody's just like pulling that from their butt, honestly, and like it's not a testimonial from somebody who's attended before, like how's it going to do that?
Yeah. Yeah. I would agree. That's a pretty big red flag. It's like, because that's kind of where it feels a little scamish. Not saying that like people who do that are scamming, but it's like it can feel that way as someone that's buying a ticket. If it's like all these promises, it's going to help you book a wedding. It's going to help you do this, but it's like, but I don't even know like what we're doing. Like, how is it going to help me?
Like, yeah. And I think sometimes it can be like, oh, I'm going to get to meet this person or something like that. But like, that shouldn't be the only detail that you know. You know what I mean? That you get to meet like the host of the workshop. Like you should know what you're doing throughout the weekend too. So I think it's important. Okay. You want to say your next one?
Yes. My next one is if you are looking to buy a ticket to like a retreat or something and you still have a lot of questions. This kind of falls into the communication thing.
So similar.
But like if there's no like FAQ section, or even like if you don't even have the ability to like reach out to someone and ask them a question and like get your answer. Personally, me being someone that likes to plan and like likes to know, like if I'm going to Charleston for a workshop, I like to know specific details before I just go and like shell out all this money to you. Like, I don't know. If you still have questions at the end of it all, when you go to buy your ticket, you're like, I don't even know what's going on here. That would probably be a red flag.
100%. The reason why I laughed and was like, ours are so similar. My second one was the host gets mad or frustrated when you ask questions.
Yeah.
And I'm not like, no one's actually going to be like, okay, get out, like, and actually get mad. But like, you can tell when somebody's like a little bit more short with you when you ask questions, you know what I mean? And I would say that that's a red flag. You want to feel comfortable to ask questions, especially if like this retreat is a big investment. Like, you want to be wise with your finances. And the reason why I put this one, honestly, is because I thought this for myself. Like, I had 2 attendees, one who's paid their deposit and one who hasn't yet, just even this week, who have asked me a ton of questions, and I'm happy to answer them. Like I want to be able to answer their questions. And some of them are found on the FAQ already if they had looked, and some of them weren't. And I'm like, oh, that's a great thing to add to the FAQ next year, but like, I should never, ever be in a place of feeling like frustrated because someone's asking me a question before they dish out money. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that just shows if someone is getting mad at you for asking questions, are they just looking for your money? Like, do they not really care about you as an attendee? Because if you're asking like, hey, how many people are going to be there? Hey, like, what time can I get there? Like, just very like logical things, or like, hey, what exactly is a guided photo shoot? Like, if you're asking the questions, like, they should be willing to give you the answer. Yes. And if they're not, it's probably because they're just like, oh, just buy your ticket, please. Like, stop asking me questions. Like,
and I like just wouldn't want to go and like stay in a house with somebody like that, like, I want them to be fine with me asking them questions. Cause if they're like that just over email, then they're probably going to be like that throughout the weekend too. So,
right.
Yeah,
totally. My next one, I think, is a pretty big red flag. You might not think this, but whatever. I think it's a red flag if there's a lot of people going on the retreat. And I say this because I think the increased number decreases quality. Even though like, oh, they're selling more tickets, which means they have a higher budget to make it better. But that also means there's like more bodies, and more bodies equals most likely you're not going to like have the best shooting situation. So I try to max mine at a certain number because I knew I've attended workshops where the group numbers were too big, and me being a measly new photographer just stood in the back and cried basically. So I think, but Alex, I think the way that you do your workshops is good because you do have a good amount of people that go, but you have like rotations and groups, and you always like have something for each group to be doing, and like you make it work where it's not like people are fighting for the shot.
Right.
But I think there needs to be like a clear communication of that, because if I'm someone that's buying a ticket and I see there are 30 people going to this workshop, how the heck am I going to get my shot? How the heck am I actually, how is this going to change my life when there's 30 other people that are attending? Yeah, like
it all goes back to that. No, actually, my next one, I kid you not, was overcrowded styled shoots.
Oh, cool. Perfect.
Cool. So we're the same. Got it. But yeah, I love that you even said, and maybe this is something that I can shift in my like communication for photo camp too, of like communicating how we do the shoots broken down, because maybe that's something that is like good for people to see. But like, even for the first one, and you can attest to this because you were there, even for the first photo camp that I hosted, I felt like it was broken down and the group size wasn't massive. But even looking back on it, I'm like, I want it even smaller. So I actually shifted it. And for the next one, it was a little bit different. And for this one, it's a little bit different too. Like this next coming up one, we're going to have really small groups. And I broke it down
like
in a little bit. So I don't want to say the number exactly and it'd be wrong, but as of right now, I'll say it anyway.
Just a range,
just like nobody hold me to it. You know what I mean?
Okay.
But it's going to be like 4 to 5 people in a group.
Oh, cool.
And so it'll feel like really intimate. They'll have more time like one-on-one with the models and stuff like that. And the way that I'm doing it for like, I'll give you guys, just because me and Shauna, my like director of operations for PhotoCamp, we talked about it yesterday. So basically for the first night, it's just all inclusive attendees. And we have 2 shoots going on at the same time. I actually broke it up into 3 groups, and we're going to have one shoot where the photographers are like, you know, hands-on with the models doing that. And then a one that's like shooting the other one, and one that's in a break time. So they're not actually shooting that one, and they have like, they're assigned to do something really fun, and I won't say what it is because it's a surprise for them, but like they'll be like doing that fun thing with their team captain. And that's the other thing. I think when you're breaking it down into those small groups, like if you're going to have a bunch of photographers, you do have to break it down into the small groups, and those small groups need to know what they're doing. Like they need to feel organized. So something new that I'm doing this year that I'm really excited about is having team captains that are like walking, like they're kind of like camp counselors, you know, the whole photo camp theme, but like they're walking those photographers from thing to thing, like helping guide them throughout the whole experience. They're there to ask or to answer questions. Like it just feels like a very personalized experience, almost like a big environment and then having like a small group. You know what I mean? Like it's the same sort of like structure, I guess. But I totally agree with what you're saying. So I wonder if that's like as a host of somebody who has like a big group, I can shift that in my marketing almost.
Yeah. And honestly, I think another thing is if you're going to have a lot of people, like, and this is something that you do that I really like, is you give everyone like a minute or two. Every person gets a minute or two to pose individually without anyone else interrupting them. They get exactly what they want. They get to put them in whatever pose they want. Which in previous like workshops I've attended, it's not been like that. It's been like fight for yourself, hope you get the shot you want. So that's something else that could be included in marketing, or like if you're looking to attend some sort of workshop, you can email the host or DM them and be like, hey, how is it going to run when we're shooting? Because I think that's a really important thing.
I agree.
You know, as someone that's hosting, it's tempting to just be like, oh, here's your group, figure it out. But I think adding that structure to it just makes it, I don't know, more civil, more fair. I don't know. And I love fairness. So
I love keeping things fair.
I love being a fair queen.
Something else too that I do on that is like, I, especially for this October one, and I'll do this again for March, I gave like a little like best practices kind of chat before we went into our first sessions. And if you are thinking about hosting your own retreat, I would totally suggest to do that, whether it's like a retreat or even a styled shoot, of like giving them the rundown of what the structure is. It doesn't have to be what Cassidy said. Like, it doesn't have to be the 1 to 2 minutes of everybody doing that. Like, if that's something that feels like pressure filled to you, if you were an attendee, don't do it that way. But like, there needs to be some sort of structure, and they need to walk through like how to actually get the shots that they want and that they paid for. But like having a group conversation about it, I think is helpful.
Yeah, for sure. Totally. Do you have a next one, or do you want me to go?
You got it.
Okay. My next one is, if you're a red flag, if you're not connected with the other attendees, like via some sort of message or email thread. Because why? Because why are you not connected with other attendees? Is it because they don't want you connecting with other people? They don't want y'all chatting? Or is it because or like, are like, to me, you're connecting other attendees because you want them to have that community that you're promising them. You want them to have that experience. You want them to meet people. Why not get a head start on that by like connecting them all beforehand?
Yeah.
So that would be a red flag to me, is if I don't know who else is going. I don't know how many other people are going. Like, I've not been put in any sort of group or anything, because if you are, even like if you're traveling somewhere, especially, like, you should be, that is just common knowledge, like group chat.
Yeah.
Like,
it's like a safety thing too.
It really is
somewhere.
Yeah. It's like, we're just going to show up at this random villa in Italy. I don't know anyone except the host that's going. Like, I don't know how many people are going to be there. Like, yeah.
Genuinely sounds like a true crime. Like,
it does.
When you say it that way, like, it could easily make its way into a documentary.
Right. And a lot of us are girls. Like, we need to make sure that what we're doing is safe. And I think the group chat is a big thing. You want to make sure the people that are going are like real people. Like people that I could DM and, you know, whatever. Like, it's a big thing, I think.
No, I totally agree. Yeah. And I think like it doesn't really matter like how that happens necessarily. Like for my attendees, we start with a Facebook page and then week of move into like an Instagram chat, right? So like it doesn't have to be one specific thing, but just a way where you can see, okay, there are other people going to this retreat. It's not just one person maybe scamming me a little bit, you know, or whatever it is. Like, I'm not saying that there's too many scams, but just in general, like you want to be cautious of that. Okay.
Yeah.
My next one was unclear lodging and food situation.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I'll be super honest. The reason I put this one is because I've heard horror stories about this a little bit. And I'm not going to go into details of things, but like I have heard stories of where like people show up to things and like they're like hungry because there wasn't enough food for all the attendees. And I've also heard like, oh, it was unclear of like the lodging situation and like people slept on couches and stuff like that when they paid like the same ticket amount as someone who slept in, I don't know, like a king side bed or something like that. So for me, like just hearing those, I'm like, let's avoid that at all costs, guys. Like if you're going to a retreat, ask fair questions. And one thing that I will say on that, something I actually don't do in my marketing, and I don't know if you and I have talked about this or not, Cassidy, but something I never do is show pictures of like the camp house before because I am renting it. And I rent it through just like, you know, a rental service or whatever, like something like Airbnb. But with that, I've also known other people that host retreats to have something fall through with their Airbnb. And I don't want it to be a source of like, this is what they're paying for. So if that falls through, you know what I mean? When I can tell you, you're going to have a luxury camp house by the beach. That is like serving the purpose of clear communication about it. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yes, it does make sense. But then on the flip side, I could also see like an attendee being like, why don't I see any pictures of where I'm staying?
Totally.
I think that's actually one of the things on my list was like,
and that's where you and I are so different too. We've talked about this. Now I remember. But one thing that I will say is like, if an attendee emailed me and asked, I would show immediately. So it's nothing like that. But like what I don't, but I would also be very clear in my communication to them that like, just to let you know, our contract says this, like, this is what our invoice says. This is what you're paying for. Here's what we currently have. If something falls through, I'll let you know immediately. So like just being really clear on my end of like what it is I'm promising.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think it's more so like from an attendee standpoint, like not knowing details too, like like you said, I don't like not being clear about the bed situation. Do I get my own bed? Am I sharing a bed? Also, what's happening with my meals? I'm there for 5 days. Like, what is happening with that? I have heard, I think this was like a long time ago, some retreat where like they promised like a private chef or something like that. And then it ended up being like these like horrible like boxed meals or just like really, really bad meals.
Yikes.
It was like this whole thing where it was like they promised a private chef and literally we got like bread and sandwiches like every day. Which is another thing. It's like I'm sure there was some sort of like some miscommunication. Maybe the person thought they were getting a private chef and they didn't, but it's like I don't know. It's like those are things that are really sticky and could be red flags because it's like, are they just cheaping out?
Yeah.
And maybe like lowering your experience so that they can hire their profit? Like, do they not care?
Right.
About
and that's
your
where
experience?
I would really look at like specifically, like if I were attending an event, I would look specifically at what's on the invoice and what's in the contract of what you're paying for. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like when it says what's included on the website, that's one thing. Does it also say all of that or very similar wording or whatever in the invoice and the contract too? You know what I mean? Because I think that could like help with any vagueness or something like that. But okay, did you have another
one? Yeah, I think a red flag, and honestly, this might be my most valid red flag, is when the person that is hosting the workshop doesn't ask any info about you. So if there is no like application of sorts, if there's no like, where do you live? Or like, what's your phone number?
How old are you?
Like, yeah, like stuff where it's like, if I'm hosting something, I need to know certain info about people. Even like medical stuff. Do you have allergies? Like these are important things to know as a host. So it's like, if they're not asking you any of that, and that might fall into also like the organization side of things where it's like, maybe they don't have the means to do so. Maybe they haven't set up like a honeybook automation that sends a questionnaire or like some sort of application. Maybe they don't have a Google form like in place. Like that, there is a little bit of a gap there where that could be a red flag because it's like, do you really care about me attending, or are you just gonna like replace me with someone else when I cancel? You know?
Yeah. I
like,
also
do you
think
not care?
of it like as a safety thing too. Like if you're not asking, like I know I'm a safe person, you know what I mean? But like, but like I'm buying a ticket and I didn't have to go through any precautions. You know what I mean?
Right.
So like, could Uncle Joe, you know what I mean, buy a ticket? Because we don't need Uncle Joe there. You know?
And I think it's fine to have a ticket process where it's like anyone can add to cart and buy. You know, it's like first come, first serve. That's fine. But it's afterwards then are you being asked questions of like, hey, where do you live? Hey, what's the best way to contact you?
Right.
Like, you know, just like common, like everyday stuff that you need to know. If you're not being asked those things, that's probably a red flag.
The allergies thing too, I think is really important. And if you are attending like not just a styled shoot, but like an actual retreat where you're going to be there, they're feeding you and they're not asking you, make sure you tell them your allergies. Like,
like don't be afraid.
Yeah. Don't be afraid to say those things.
Like you're not an inconvenience. Say what you're allergic to.
Yes.
Because you don't want to sit out of a meal.
Yeah, literally. Or accidentally like have something happen. You know what I mean?
Or die.
Like,
right.
Or die. We don't need that.
No.
Not on our watch. Okay. This one I don't have like good words for, so give me grace on the way I say this. Education from someone who doesn't educate well. So, again, give me grace on the way I said that. But here's what I'm thinking. Followers are great to have, right? But just because someone has a lot of followers on Instagram and has great work and does great photography work, that doesn't mean that they can educate well. So if you're going to this retreat and it's just like styled shoots, that's one thing, right? But if you're going to a retreat that's promising education, what is that person doing that you can see in some way that is like showing you that they can educate or that they care to educate or whatever? You know what I'm saying? And I wouldn't say that that's like a full-on red flag, but maybe it's a yellow flag.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
No. Yeah. Yeah, I would say yellow flag.
A yellow
for sure.
flag. Yeah.
Because you want to give people the benefit of the doubt. Like, oh, if they're saying they can speak, let them speak.
Right. Because like I was in that place too when I started photo camp. You know what I mean? So like, but I also think it should have been a yellow flag for people at first. Not that I couldn't do it, but like there were people who asked great questions going into that first photo camp. And I'm so glad that they did. And then they trusted me when I told them the answers and came. So there's part of it that is a risk. And I'm so grateful for that on the flip side of it. But I do think it should be a yellow flag that we look at, you know?
Yeah. And I also think it's poor marketing on the person that is like hosting the workshop as well. If no one knows how you teach, but yet all of a sudden you're advertising that you're teaching at this workshop, there's no people there. You're not giving a reason for people to want to hear you speak. Totally. So like if you want that aspect to be a selling point, you better market yourself as someone that does speak and does educate, because that's going to help you get tickets sold.
Yeah, like if you're in that place, start posting videos right now. Post some tutorial reels, ladies.
Yeah.
Or men.
Exactly.
Sorry, guys.
Okay, let me move on to my next one. I'm trying to pick and choose which one I want to do. If there's no contract.
Oh, immediate red flag. I'm out, actually.
Yeah. I mean, I've been at the point in my business where like I didn't send contracts like with shoots and stuff. Like I've been there. I get it. Like it's expensive to have a contract and it takes work to have a contract, but like it is so important. And I think for someone that's hosting a retreat, it's a no-brainer. You need a contract.
Yes.
Like literally you need a contract, like point blank period. Point is made. Red flag.
Yeah, I totally agree. There's very few situations being on the receiving side where I'll like pay someone a good amount and not have a contract, just in general.
It's just not safe. Like it's not safe to send someone money without a contract. Like unless it's like literally $50, maybe. I mean,
that's what I was thinking. Like,
scam I think me, whatever.
I think that there's like a certain bar maybe that it needs to be, but like you have to figure out what that bar is for you. But like if it's like $1,000 and they're asking you to Venmo you over an Instagram DM or something like that, like we just don't need to do that, you know, without a contract. But
yeah. And it's hard if you are the person that's buying a ticket and there's no contract, because you're like, there's not really much you can do to be like, hey, I actually want to sign a contract, because it's like most likely they don't have a contract ready for you to sign. So it's hard, because at that point you basically have to decide, do I want to go or do I not want to go?
Yeah, it's true. And that's a good question to ask. But if it's a red flag, then you probably don't want to go.
Right.
It's just my opinion.
No contract. Also, like that kind of leads me into another one of mine, which is like paying via like Venmo or PayPal or something like that. I don't know. I mean, sure, like some people do run their business on like Venmo, which is fine. So I would say it's probably more of a yellow flag for me than it is like full red. I think if it's like PayPal without a contract, I'm sketched out. Yeah, but 100%. If it's like contract but PayPal, okay.
Yeah,
that's fine.
I really think the contract thing for me is like the biggest one. Like I went to a pretty like expensive content weekend and it was through Zelle that I paid. It was either through Venmo or Zelle, but like, and it was a great experience, but I had the contract before I signed anything or before I paid anything.
But, which I mean is nice for like fees and stuff, but
I think it's actually like kind of a smart thing if the people are comfortable with it. But I do think it was nice that like the person gave options too of how you paid. So that was a helpful thing.
Yeah, that's true. Like if you would prefer something like a little bit more legit, like if you would prefer Stripe or like if you want a payment plan or whatever, like I feel like that should be something that should be accommodated pretty easily.
Yeah. Okay, my last one we've talked so much about, so I really don't even need to say it, but it's poor communication from the organizers. And that's it. Like immediate red flag.
Yeah. One of the red flags I had was if the person's portfolio doesn't match what they're trying to sell on the retreat. So if it's like a super luxurious wedding retreat, whatever, but they don't actually like have that in their portfolio. And the only reason I'm saying this, it's not because I feel like if you don't have a luxury wedding, you can't have a luxury retreat. That's not what I'm saying.
Sure.
But it is a type of a red flag because I personally think, number one, it means they're probably not an expert in that field. So you're probably not going to learn much. If it's just shoots, that's fine. but also the host might try to focus more on building their own portfolio rather than letting you do so.
100%. I'm so glad you said that.
So that could be a version of a red flag, maybe a yellow flag, because like at the end of the day, it makes you question the host priority.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do they care about you getting the luxury wedding, or are you just financing the luxury wedding that they want in their portfolio?
Yeah. Yeah. Honestly, I mean, that's real.
Right. And like hosts can shoot and they can build their portfolio too. It's fine.
Yeah.
But like there might come a point where like they might prioritize that over you and your experience and what you're paying for. Like you literally said, Alex, earlier about like the photos that people are paying for. Like people are paying for photos.
Yeah.
For certain photos that they want to take. So like
we got to give it to them. Yeah, we got to give it to them.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, did you have any other red flags? That was kind of my list.
Yeah, I do.
Share them.
I think if someone's not willing to pay vendors for retreats,
yeah,
I would say that's a yellow flag for me.
Mm-hmm.
I in my past have gotten a lot of people that reach out to me wanting me to speak at a retreat, participate in a retreat, and they're not willing to actually pay for me to do so.
Mm-hmm.
Which to me completely devalues me. And I'm sure they do it to florists and makeup artists and whoever. Alex is literally one of the first people that ever actually paid me to speak at a retreat. Like,
and now I say I paid for our friendship, guys.
And you paid for our friendship. Thank you for doing that. I don't know. I think you have to be willing to at least pay a couple vendors. Like I understand trying to work on a budget and whatever.
Yeah.
Understandable. But
and I definitely think it depends on the event too. And it depends on the relationship that you have before. When you are doing collaborations, giving them something that's really beneficial back. Because I do a lot of collaborations for PhotoCamp.
Yeah.
And I'm so thankful for them. But I also feel like for the majority of my collaborations, I'm really serving them well too. So like, for example, coming up, we're working with a studio. Okay. And it's like for a headshot day. And I'm super thankful for it. But we're also taking a bunch of content that they're going to be able to use. And it's not just, okay, we're promised that you're tagged in the tag list, because especially in Charleston, they're over it. Like they don't want to be tagged. They want this to turn into business. They need things that they can use in their portfolios too. And like, how can they use it on social media and stuff like that? So, and there's a couple other things too that we're doing, but like being able to like give them something back that they feel like is just as valuable as what they're giving is an important thing. And if there's not something that you can meet like in the middle on in that way, then you need to pay them.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you agree with that? Or are you kind of
I do. No, I 100% agree with that. I think it's very valuable to collab. I think you do a really good job of collabing too. And I think you're at least willing to pay, but like you're not expecting free handouts.
Right.
Because to me, that is the red flag of it all.
Yeah. No,
is like
totally
the expectation of it. I don't know. Like,
and I mean, thinking about it, guys, too, of like, if you are looking to host and this is a conversation where you're like, wait, I was planning on getting everything for free or whatever too. But like thinking about it of like when people ask you to shoot for free.
Yeah.
You typically don't want to if you're asked. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, unless it's something that mutually benefits the both of you. Like, why would you shoot for free?
Yeah.
You know?
And I think there's a part of it too where it's like, these people paid so much money to attend what I am promising for them. I want to make sure it is the absolute best it can be. So therefore, I'm willing to pay models. I'm willing to pay people who actually know how to pose in front of the camera. I'm willing to pay a florist who is actually going to give me beautiful florals rather than like, I don't know, like there are some areas where yes, cheap out, hold to your budget, but also are you willing to reinvest in those people who are literally investing so much in you? Yeah. Like there would be nothing worse than paying $5,000 for a ticket, which is what I charge, and showing up and it's literally like a couple in jeans and a t-shirt in a field. Like no, that is
cardboard box. Like
that is not what they are paying for, you know? Right. So I think like just that willingness, because it is tempting just to be like, oh, well, like I don't want to pay anyone. Like, but I think it's an important part of it to an extent.
One thing that I will say too is if you feel like you're not getting a lot of, and this is going for people who are hosting now, but
now we're just yapping.
Yeah, now we're just yapping. But if you feel like you're not getting a lot of people who are biting on the collaboration side, then you either need to rethink what you're offering them, or maybe you scale back on how many shoots you're planning on doing. Because for me, I do 10 styled shoots in a very short amount of time. So my budget for those shoots, they're not what Cassidy's are at a $5,000 retreat. Like it doesn't work that way, right? My shoots are great and I love them and I'm very proud of them, but doing 10 of them is different than doing 3 of them, the budget that you get to have. So if you feel like, I'm thankful that I do have a lot of collaborations, but if you feel like you're not getting them, maybe scale back. Don't do 5 shoots for your retreat. Do 3.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just kind of think about it that way. But I do want to move us on to Cassidy and talk about maybe some things that people can do to like avoid those red flags.
Yes. I have one more red flag real quick.
Okay, share.
And it's not really a red flag. It's more just like, if you're hesitant or whatever, like try Googling. Like Google some things, Google the retreat, just see like whatever. Because something that I did put down is if like someone doesn't have a reputation yet, that might be a little bit of a red flag. And reputation is very broad. But like if someone hasn't hosted anything like that before, or hasn't like shown to you that they would be maybe a trustworthy person to, like if it's someone you've been following for a really long time, I'd say they have a good reputation to you. Like, but if it's someone that like you have no sense of, they've never hosted anything like that, try Googling, try the reputation thing. See if that brings up any yellow or red flags. Yeah.
The other thing that I would say too with that is like try Googling, but also like if they have hosted events in the past, that doesn't mean that the events were as good as they make it look like they were. You know what I mean? Ask past attendees. Like I get asked for the content weekend that I attended 3 years ago. I still get asked about it and I'm happy to answer. Like I want them to have like the best time when they go, you know?
Yeah.
And people will tell you if they had a poor experience too. And it just gives you like a good insight into it.
That's true.
Okay. A couple ways that, and you can speak to this, Cassidy, if you want, but a couple ways that they can kind of like protect themselves almost. Number one, do your research. We were just talking about that, but do your research on the host too. Like not all workshops are created equal. We've talked about that this whole time pretty much, but when you do your research, it's going to help you the whole time pretty much.
Yeah.
Second thing I was thinking is like read the fine print on things. Like read your contract, guys.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
I know it's hard.
Yeah. I would also say like manage your expectations too. Like if you're someone that wants to like get into like if you shoot concerts right now and you want to get into weddings, attending a wedding content day is going to be great for you, but like manage your expectations that it's not going to just flip a switch, turn you into a wedding photographer.
Right. Yeah.
You know, I think that's like what I don't even know like what we're supposed to be talking about right now. I just put that out there.
I literally texted Cassidy yesterday and was like, "Hey, want to be on my podcast tomorrow?"
I'm so literally just here, saying things. I was like, "Do you want me to be comedic relief? Like I could do that, or I can actually like talk to."
I was like, "All right, bring your red flags, and then we'll just we'll figure out what happens." So no, I love that though. I think it's really good. I also was thinking. And it's kind of similar to that a little bit, but like making sure that whatever retreat you're going on or styled shoot that you're signing up for aligns with your goals. Yeah. And I think that's so important. Like, okay, if you are a concert photographer, you want to be a wedding photographer, then go to a wedding retreat, right? But if you're going to something that just like doesn't have a lot of shoots or education for your niche that you really want to be in, why would you go to it? Just because it looks fun, you know? And maybe that's a good thing. Like maybe it's okay to have fun, you know, but like if you're paying for it through your business, you want it to be a good investment into your business and for where you're going in the future.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I also think like just be aware of what you personally need in your business. Do you need your portfolio to grow, or could you use a little bit of that community? Could you use that education? Like what is it that is drawing you to a retreat? Maybe it's all of those things. Maybe you love how like every box is being checked off, or maybe it's like I don't really need to focus on the portfolio. It's actually really the education I'm interested in. Well, if you're going to something that's like literally shooting only, but it's hosted by the person you want to learn from, don't just attend because it's hosted by the person you want to learn from. Maybe book a mentorship with them.
Yeah.
You know, so like really figure out what is the area that you're lacking or what is it that you want to get out of it, and then make sure whatever retreat it is you're interested in attending, it actually hits that mark.
And then it's cool too, because you can go into the retreat with a different mindset. You know, like if your goal in going into the retreat is like community, you want to like make friends, then great. When you're shooting, you don't have to shoot the whole time during, like you can take your shots, but you don't have to overshoot and make more work for yourself. You know what I mean? You can just make friends during the time, and that's okay, you know?
Yeah. I think honestly, the goal of just making friends during retreat sounds so refreshing. Sounds like it would take so much off of your plate too. Like if that was your only goal, you'll pose, you'll get shots, you'll probably get great content, but you're not so focused on that you like push people away and that you become like unapproachable because you're so like, I'm competing with you.
My shot.
Like if you're more focused on that, it's going to make the whole experience more enjoyable.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else that you can think of?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. I think this was a great chat, friend.
Yeah, it was really fun.
I love it.
And honestly, not to like shameless plug, but like, can we talk about how my little like lens cap thing?
I know.
Like, I literally, I want to talk about this for a minute.
No, do it.
Give me the space to talk about this because I have been feeling like such an entrepreneur lately.
Yes.
Like, I am just like, we're trying new things here. I'm launching a workshop. I've never done this before. I decided to make these freaking like lens cap chains that I've never done before.
Guys,
I'm not into making jewelry, but I was just like, I'm just going to try it. And it is so fun and refreshing.
Good.
So I'm just here to be like, guys, if you feel like you're kind of stuck in a whatever, or like try something new. Yeah. Maybe you need to attend a workshop you've never attended before. And that's you trying something new. But like and 'tis the season because it's winter. Like it takes something like that sometimes to really just like remind you why you're doing photography.
Yeah.
Why you like what you're doing so much. Like sometimes that's what it takes. Yeah. Or it can help you like go down a road that's gonna like build your business out, but like you would have never expected it to build in that way.
100%. And that's how it has been for me too. And I think like it's hard because sometimes like these retreats and styled shoots, or you know, making a video you've never made before, whatever, it can feel like a risk and it can feel scary, but like genuinely, I'm here to tell you to take the risk because like I am like a walking testimony of going to content weekends, meeting friends that really changed my life, hosting content weekends and meeting friends that have changed my life. Like there's just so much beauty to like getting to know other photographers in our industry and getting to like push forward creatively, getting to learn from people. Like creativity, community, and coaching are the 3 pillars of my business. I talk about them all the time on the podcast. And that's like literally why I built PhotoCamp. And I've seen those 3 things grow in my own life, even just from hosting, much less attending, you know? So if you feel stuck, like Cassidy said, do it. Like do something different, you know? Anyway, okay, I'm going to cut us off because we've just been yapping, Cassidy. I love it. Okay, love you guys so much. I will see you guys next Thursday. You've been listening to Let's Create with Alex Blake, and I'm your host, Alex Blake. I will see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.